got Johan on the big screen, in the green screen. He's in the green screen. Is it the green screen nowadays? Is that what we call it? Can't wait for this, guys. I can't wait for this. You guys are going to love Johan if you're already not part of his community already. Great guy. Got a lot of time for Johan. Hell yeah. All good. Hell yeah. Right. We can reveal my face. Here's. Oh no, that's his face. No, you're not supposed to see that. Oh no, I fucked up. That's okay. Fuck it. We're just gonna go straight in. You can see both our faces now. Hello, hello. How are you doing, Johan? Oh. Oh no! I put it down.
Good.
I put you
good.
down. I sorted all this out, and now it's gone wrong. You're now interviewing me, apparently. Let me sort all this out. Look at that.
The tables have turned.
They literally, our webcam's supposed to go on like that.
Yeah.
So I had it all set up. It's like, yep, great. And then it's just gone wrong. Oh well, we're doing it live. That's what.
Technical issues is a streamer thing. We're all used to it.
It certainly is. Zelda's here. Zelda saw that. No, you didn't, Zelda. What you talked about? Got a lot of people here, Johan. King Crazy.
Yeah.
Yourself, obviously. James Howe, Ghost Ship, M3012, Beacon, Messy Cam, and now we got new Twitch partner and season 7 representative Zelda Gift.
Congrats, Zelda.
Congrats, Zelda. We're so proud of you, man. If anyone else wants to have their name in the book, let us know now, because we're obviously going to be getting straight into chatting very soon. But everyone's name's in the book so far. Johan, how are you doing? It's so good to have you with us.
Pretty good thus far. I was thinking of like sleeping in a little bit, and then my mom woke me up because I got to send her to the hospital because she needs to take care of my dad, who is hospitalized at the moment. So yeah, it's been good. But at the very least, I got to go out and have something to eat as well, and then come back home, and now we're doing this. So
bless you, busy.
I'm pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, goodness me, and time zones as well. I mean, it's so you tell me before it's 10 p.m. where you are.
Yep, it's 10 p.m. where I'm at.
3 p.m. here. I love time zones. And again, not to try and dox your age or anything like that, but I can't believe, like 25 years ago, I would never thought this would have been possible. It was in like there was at least a 10-second delay.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's great to have you. So, Johan, you're from Malaysia, is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Malaysia.
That's so cool. I know a bit about you, and obviously anyone that's following Johan will know. But anyone who doesn't know you, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about yourself, or what type of content you do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna try and condense it as much as I can. I'm Johan Singer, streamer all the way from Malaysia. Most of the time, you'll see me streaming Just Dance on Twitch, and but then again, I also pride myself on being a variety streamer. So other games I play include Street Fighter 6. I mean, I play a variety of fighting games, but Street Fighter 6 is the one that I'm most hooked on at the moment. I also play retro games as an end-stream arcade partner. I play a lot of beat 'em ups. I also do visual novels on stream as well from time to time. And I do just chatting streams. We also play community games like Marbles on stream or Nitro Stream Racing. As a matter of fact, for Marbles and Nitro, I also try to sort of like incorporate them into my Just Dance streams, where we race with each other, and whoever wins the race gets to pick a song for me to dance to as well. So that's one of the unique things about my Just Dance streams. Provided I'm not raising money for charity. I'm not doing any charity fundraisers. If I'm doing charity fundraisers, it's like a $1 donation for a song request or something like that. But yeah, generally that's how things go with me in as far as my Twitch content is concerned. I also used to be a stage performer. I used to sing a lot on stage. I used to dance a lot on stage. But a bout with PTSD has prevented me from singing on stage since last, actually about a year ago already. Actually, since last September, because that was my last stage performance. But most of the time, but mostly now I'm on Twitch just doing my thing enjoying my time here as well. And aside from that, I'm also a ring announcer and play-by-play announcer for Malaysia Pro Wrestling, which is a pro wrestling promotion in Malaysia, the first pro wrestling promotion in Malaysia as well. Wow. So it's been amazing. It's been great. I've been ring announcing for them since 2016. So yeah, it's been fun, and yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
And that's just it. That's just it. I mean, that's the thing. That's what I love about you. And that's, again, when I was putting out there about who wants to be live on Streamer Stories, and I had a lot of people come, I was overwhelmed by that, to be honest with you. Thanks to everyone that has put their names forward. But when I saw, we've known each other, I think, probably in terms of like Twitch and Twitter and stuff like that for probably about a year and a half. And mate, you do so much. You do so much. I was like, damn. Oh, I'd love to talk to Johan. He's such a cool guy from afar, and I wanted love to get to know more about you. But just from a distance,
Yeah.
Wow, fair play to you. You do so much.
Got to keep myself as busy as I can.
We only have one
Yeah.
life, don't we? That's for sure.
Exactly.
Beacon says they visited Malaysia once on vacation. It's a beautiful country and great food. I'd love to go.
Oh yeah, one of the things that we really pride on is the food that we have here. You can't go hungry. I mean, yeah, you can't. How do I say it? Yeah, you can't like go hungry. You'll just like go places here and there and just grab anything and eat anything you want there as well. It's just like, we got a lot of good food here.
Oh,
That's
wow.
one I can
Jealous.
tell. Yeah.
I saw gabbing.
Especially if you're into spicy food, because our spicy food is just amazing. So
Oh, wow. Oh damn.
yeah.
God damn. Okay. Well, that's all happening now. That's all like 2024 stuff. But let's talk about like games we played as a kid. Then let's start from the beginning. In fact, before even playing games, did you see games like? What was your first experience with seeing a video game? Never mind playing a video game.
Oh my god, this is a tough one, because I would say that between the age of 1 to 5, my memory has been very vague in terms of like what games I have come across as a kid. And it kind of varies. Like, I remember there was this seaside town that my family and I went on a vacation. And I remember there was this one small. It's sort of like a. It almost feels like it's sort of like a, I don't know what you could call it, a room or even a hut or something like that. But there were some arcade cabinets there, and I think that was Namco's pole position on one of them. That was the one that I can kind of recall vaguely. Another one was when I went to Japan with my family. This was like a long time ago, I think at that time there was an Afterburner arcade cabinet. You know, the one where I don't know. Sega used to be crazy with the way they innovate with their arcade cabinets, where they have like feedback, or in the case of like the Afterburner arcade cabinet, there's, you get to like it moves around here and there when you're piloting the plane you're playing as well.
Yeah.
The funny thing was, the one who, if I remember correctly, and again my memory's kind of vague and a bit fuzzy, but I think the one who actually got the chance to play it was my grandfather. God rest his soul, he passed away last month. But my grandfather got to try it out, of all people. Not even my dad. It was my grandfather who tried it out.
Nice.
So, as far as like gaming, as far as like games back when I was a kid, that was the first that I could possibly recall. But it wasn't until I think I was, I don't know, I might have still been 5 or maybe 6 at that time, but it wasn't until I got myself, it wasn't until my dad got me a Famicom where, it was quite an interesting one as well. Yeah. But that was like my first memory when it comes to like gaming in general.
Yeah. So arcade machines were kind of the first, like, a bit fuzzy, but potentially what you saw first, and then you got the Famicom.
Yeah,
Nice.
Exactly.
So what games did you get on the Famicom?
Funny as this may sound, it wasn't Super Mario Brothers.
You know what? Most people
I know
say
a lot
that,
of people.
but yeah, damn right. That's cool. Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people, when they say like, "Oh, my first console was an NES or a Famicom," and it came up with like Super Mario Brothers or Duck Hunt or I don't know, Rob the Robot or something like that, Wrecking Crew or something. But the funny thing was, when my dad got me the Famicom, well, it wasn't really a Famicom, but it was because where I'm from, there were a lot of like bootlegged NESs or Famicoms in some ways as well. The most popular of one, which is called Micro Genius, which is like pretty much a staple thing in the country. I think most of them came from like Taiwan or Hong Kong, like those kind of countries as well. So when I opened it up, the first game that came along with the console, and this is gonna surprise you guys,
Okay.
is actually the first RoboCop game on the NES.
Oh wow, goodness, wow. It was not.
Yeah.
Okay.
but honestly, I mean, it was something unique. I've never had anything like this in my life. I mean, I've had action figures and the like, but never anything like this. So I wasn't sure like what to expect. I wasn't sure like I wasn't sure what to expect and how to actually play it. It is kind of sad because that RoboCop game was really, really bad, and I'm pretty sure the Angry Video Game Nerd covered it in one of his videos one time as well. So I'm like, yeah, I feel that. It was my very first console game experience.
Oh, no.
But thankfully, that was remedied not too long after, because one time I don't remember like what the occasion was, but my mom took me to a shopping center near my house, near our house, because that time we were living with my grandparents as well. So there was a shopping center near our house, and we went there. And next thing I know, my dad actually came and he said, I got a new game for you. And it turns out it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game for the NES. And I'm like, okay, this I would totally go for, because at that time I was like a huge Ninja Turtles guy. So
sweet, yeah.
And when I played the game, when I went home and played it, I was just blown away by just everything about it, and that really opened my eyes to just how amazing gaming truly is, and is what made me a gamer to this day.
Nice. When was the last time you played that game then? Did you play it at all ever since, or?
I'm pretty sure I played it on stream via an emulator before the
nice.
Cowabunga collection came out.
Hell yeah! Oh, cool.
But and it felt good to relive that memory again. Playing the arcade game, and then the Manhattan Project, that was the last TMNT beat 'em up to arrive on the NES. So I also played that on stream, and it was just a great experience. I don't know, maybe I might go back to playing that again at some point, because it's always good to like go back to your childhood days and relive those memories that you have as a kid, and which is also one of the reasons why I love streaming as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Reliving those memories and sharing them with chat, sharing them with your viewers, and telling everyone, yeah, these were the games that I grew up with. These were the experiences that I had as a kid playing these amazing games, and I want you guys to come along on this journey with me. And who knows, maybe if it interests you, then you might also go into it and you might also try it out for yourself. So that's the beauty of streaming as well. So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that like when the Cowabunga collection was announced, I was like, okay, I gotta get this because I need to relive my childhood again.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
definitely. Wow. So no Mario. When did you play Mario then? When did you?
Man, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't long, that's for sure. But and this is what's funny. My first exposure to Mario wasn't even any of his games. It was actually the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, which was, I mean, God bless Captain Lou Albano. He was a great Mario, and funny enough, I had no idea that this Mario guy was actually originally a video game character. And I think my cousin brought it up, saying something like she had a Super Mario game or something like that, and I was like, okay, let's check it out. So the cool thing about living in my part of the world with a lot of bootlegged Famicom cartridges as well.
Yeah.
we had a lot of these multi-card games. So, your 75 in ones, your 100 something games in one, your 1000 something games in one, where it's like they advertise it in that way, but then when you go deep inside, it's like it's just the same games over and over again. It's like false advertising. But my cousin was very fortunate. She got a really, really cool multi-card game full of like Mario games. So your Super Mario Brothers, the original Mario Brothers, the arcade version. There's also the Lost Levels. There's also Super Mario Brothers 2, which was of course based on Doki Doki Panic. I almost wanted to say Doki Doki Literature Club. Oh my gosh.
Very different Mario game.
And she has Super Mario Brothers 3. But the cool thing about this copy of Super Mario Brothers 3 that was in the multi-card, a lot of these multi-card games, especially if they are bootleg games, they tend to be hacked or modded in some ways. And this particular game, this particular copy of Super Mario Bros. 3 actually had unlimited power-ups. So
interesting.
Like how in the game Mario can have all of these different power-ups and such. Here, you can actually just like use them for an unlimited time on the map screen. So it's like if you're stuck and you need like a frog suit, it's right there. You don't have to backtrack, find a frog suit, leave the stage, and then go into that level or something. It's really, really cool.
But sadly, that as well. Was that how you thought the game maybe was like played?
No, I mean I didn't think that was how the game was played, but I thought it was a pretty neat thing. I had a copy of Super Mario Bros. 3, and mine. Sadly, it doesn't have that feature, but it did have a lot of lives. I mean, it's still limited, but but Mario started off with like maybe 10, 12 lives or something like that. So I was like, okay, that's cool. But that was actually my very first experience with Mario, and from there, started taking off. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there as well, like in terms of like the various bootleg versions of the game. The fact that you got a fantastic version with so many versions of it on, the live action version. Wow, that's a story. That's a story. I love that. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so from the Famicom then, where did you go after that? Did you go Super Nintendo? Where did you go after that?
I went to. I mean, okay, I don't know whether handhelds count, but of course there's a Game Boy as well.
Nice,
But in terms of like home consoles, the next one I went with was the Sega Mega Drive.
Oh, sweet.
Because another cousin of mine had it. I tried it out at her place, and it was pretty mind-blowing at that time because jumping from 8-bit to 16-bit, and the visuals looked amazing. The audio sounds great as well. That was what I went for next, and I don't remember like what were the first games I got. I'm pretty sure Streets of Rage was one of them. I'm pretty sure Sonic the Hedgehog was also one of them. There were a few like lesser known Genesis games as well at that time, Genesis Mega Drive games as well. And then of course there was Castle of Illusion, there was Michael Jackson's Moonwalker as well, and so many others.
Keep it coming. I love these. Sorry, I'm a Mega Drive guy, so yes.
Yeah, a lot of. Yeah, I mean, I know people. So I would like to think that I'm very privileged and dare I say spoiled in a way that I not only had a Sega Mega Drive, but I also had a Super Famicom. So I get that there's always this case of like the 16-bit console wars, like back in the days as well. But the good thing about it is that I get to experience games in a different light, like how they're presented on the Super Nintendo, and compare that to like the Genesis, for instance. So it's always good to like compare and also see like, okay, which version is actually better played on the Mega Drive versus the Super Famicom. So
right, yeah.
But the Sega Mega Drive was what came next. And then when it came to the Super Famicom, it was an easy sell. Street Fighter 2 was such a huge thing back then.
Yes.
And at that time, Capcom had an exclusive like working agreement with Nintendo, and that was like an easy sell for me to want to get a Super Nintendo or Super Famicom, just because Street Fighter 2 was there. And I remembered getting it, and I remembered like playing it at home, and just again, I was just blown away because I've seen it in the arcade,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, we get to have the arcade experience at home. I mean, not exactly like not exactly a perfect port or anything like that, but it's still the closest thing that we got as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. To be around, I mean, I didn't play much video. I didn't play video games until the late 90s, so and I caught up quite quickly. So I had the Mega Drive, and then I had the PlayStation like in the late 90s. But man, to have played Street Fighter when it came out, I mean, there was nothing like it. It was just groundbreaking. It was something that, again, I think is a bit sad about. Maybe I'm showing my age here, but like with the younger generations, they don't get to feel what this is like to have like a Street Fighter come out, or to have like a Tekken come out for the first time and just completely blow everything out the water. What a time!
Mm-hmm.
What a time!
Yep. I agree. I totally agree. Like when I remember when I got Mortal Kombat for the Super Nintendo or the Super Famicom as well. It was, I mean, I liked the game. It was visually impressive. The audio was great, but it was a bit of a letdown because there was no blood and the fatalities were toned back.
Yes.
So, funny story. I once went out into a mall with my family, and we ended up getting the Mega Drive version of Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
And the shopkeeper, the guy who was running the store, actually gave the blood and fatality code to us as well. So we could input it when we get back home and get the full experience. And I was like, okay, that was pretty dope. So yeah. Kudos to them as well.
That guy's a hero.
He is a hero. And it was that time when I was like, yeah, the Mega Drive version of Mortal Kombat slapped. More so than the Super Nintendo version.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. So yeah, okay then. So after that then, so again, handhelds was totally fine. Did you go Nintendo 64, Saturn, PlayStation? Where did you go after that?
PlayStation came first because it was at that time it was a little bit more accessible. Even the Saturn wasn't that big in Malaysia as well. Although I'm not entirely my memory is a bit fuzzy. I don't think I can ever recall Saturn games or even the console being a big thing in Malaysia as well. Part of the reason why the PlayStation sold very well was because of, and again, from where I come from, there were a lot of bootlegged PlayStation games. So it's like, and I remember when I first like got a few games, they were like they were about 10 ringgit, and I was like, that is pretty dirt cheap, because back in the days we would be paying like maybe 90 to 100 ringgit for like one Super Famicom or Sega Mega Drive cartridges, and now we're just paying like very, very little. I mean, I didn't think about like why, or I didn't think about the why. I was just like blown away by how affordable PlayStation games were, and then I realized, oh, they're actually bootleg, they're actually pirated. But to me, it's like, hey, if they work, why not?
Exactly.
So, yeah. But going back to what we said about how our minds were blown by a lot of the great games that came out during that period. Yeah. I remember the first time I played Tekken 2 on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Good Lord, I was just amazed by just how amazing everything looks. The visuals were amazing. The game controls really, really well. Yeah. And the fact that we also had arranged soundtracks on the PlayStation version as well, it just added to the whole package. And I just loved everything about it. And it's great that you mentioned this, because I was just watching Babe Ruthless's video. She's a YouTuber who's well known for covering, breaking down, and analyzing fighting game stages.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so having watched her recent video on both Tekken and Tekken 2 as well, it kind of like comes full circle that we're talking about this as well, because again, the visuals for Tekken 2 and the audio, it was just fantastic. Yeah. At that point in time, I had never played anything like that at home, and now that I get the chance to play a game like this, and other great arcade games that were they were close to being arcade perfect as well. Like for instance, Street Fighter Alpha 2, I got that as well, and I also had the King of Fighters 95, King of Fighters. Happy 30th anniversary, by the way. So just having that experience at home was just amazing with the PlayStation, and it really made up a good part of my, especially my later teenage years as well, because I think I was 11 when I got the PlayStation, and then from there it just everything just fell into place as well.
Wow.
But I also got a Nintendo 64 like about not too long after. But that's a whole different story though. N64 is a whole different story though.
Nice. Before we get to that, then, so tell us again some of the classics on the PS1 that you love.
Oh my gosh.
Where do you start? I know, but still.
Okay, so generally I've always been more of a fighting game guy. So
Yeah.
Street Fighter Alpha 3 and Tekken 8 and Rival Schools United. No, not Tekken 8. Sorry, Tekken 3.
Yeah.
And Rival Schools United by Fate. Those are like my 3 favorite fighting games on the PlayStation.
Sweet. Yeah.
There's also Marvel Superheroes, which I enjoy, which is what makes me so hyped that we're getting the Marvel vs. Capcom collection.
Yes.
Later this year. So yeah, there were a lot of great games that came out during that time. I feel sad and depressed just thinking about it, but I had Final Fantasy VII, but I could not complete it because my disc 1 crashed during the scene where Cloud and Tifa were trying to catch up at Tifa's bar as well. So I had never been able to complete that game, but thankfully I was able to complete Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX as well.
Nice.
So I think some of the other games that I really enjoyed were Chrono Cross, which I would love to get into streaming one day. There was also Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That was the one that really opened my eyes to just how amazing the PlayStation is, because despite the fact that it is primarily a 2D Metroidvania, as we call it these days, it's just everything about the game is amazing. The visuals are crazy good. The controls are very, very tight. And I especially love the soundtrack by Michiru Yamane. That will, whenever people ask me like, what's the best video game soundtrack ever, I would definitely point towards the Castlevania Symphony of the Night soundtrack. It's very, very hard to top a lot of the tracks that were on there.
100%. Oh yeah, tremendous. I only played Symphony of the Night about 4 years ago, and it's still so good. And that was my first experience with it. It's a tremendous game. And hell yeah, for the Final Fantasy games. I know about Final Fantasy 7 I can sympathise. Although it was my disc 2. Towards the end of my disc 2, that when you go into space, that FMV for me was just nope. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I get PTSD for watching that FMV even on a PC game now. I'm like, even though I know it's going to be fine unless some kind of electricity output goes wrong, but I still like, oh please go through. Just in the back of my head. You know?
I mean, in my case, there's always the risk when it comes to like pirated or bootleg games as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would say 95% of the times everything works well.
Yeah.
It's just that rare 5% where some of the games just fail on you because of just how badly pirated or bootleg the game was and such. I mean, and it wasn't just Final Fantasy VII. At some point when I was playing Final Fantasy IX, the game also started messing up a little bit, but thankfully it wasn't game breaking or anything. But yeah, it happens from time to time.
I think one thing that was really good about Final Fantasy IX, again, maybe just me, I don't know, but Final Fantasy IX, I think I did have some issues with my 9 as well, but you can do the FMV skip quite comfortably with 9. Like 7 and 8 is a bit don't do it, but 9 worked smoothly. In fact, that's how he got Excalibur 2 quite often back in those days.
Oh yeah,
just to skip,
that's right.
Skip. Oh, memories.
Yeah, a lot of good memories. Yeah.
Oh man. All right, so Nintendo 64 then.
Okay, so the first two games I got for the Nintendo 64 were Mario Kart 64 and Killer Instinct Gold. I mean, those were just two solid titles to start off with. I mean, I enjoyed the first Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo. That was such a great game. But Killer Instinct Gold really blew it out of the water with just how good the game looked and how great the controls were. And then there's Mario Kart 64. I mean, what more can be said about Mario Kart 64? It's easily one of the best races ever made. And I remember the first time. I remember the first time I started racing on Rainbow Road, and I was just blown away by everything. The music, the visuals. I love the whole thing with like, portraits of like Mario and Luigi and all the characters like popping out on the screen as well. It was an experience. Like, it's one of those things where if I could go back in time, I would love to relive like my very first experience playing Mario Kart 64 again, because that was just a classic. And there were a lot of other games that I really enjoyed. There was Star Fox 64, which I just completed again, via crowd control as well. And there was Super Mario 64, which was also a classic. There was also Diddy Kong Racing, which I really enjoyed. I mean, and a bit of a hot take, in some ways, I may enjoy Diddy Kong Racing slightly more than Mario Kart 64 because of the content in that game as well. Yeah. Then there's GoldenEye 007. That's an amazing game. And then there was also Perfect Dark, which was good as well. And I gotta mention, WCW NWO Revenge and WWF No Mercy as well, because those are like two amazing wrestling games on the N64.
Yeah.
There were so many others, but I think that the one thing I loved most about the N64 was how accessible it is to have multiplayer sessions as well, because the console is designed in a way that you don't need a third party or a multi-tap kind of like thing, an adapter to do 4 players. All you just need is just 4 controllers, and that's it. Yeah. And you will have an amazing day or night just bringing friends over and just playing games together and just having an amazing time.
Yeah.
In terms of memories, I say the N64 also brought a lot of good memories for that reason alone. The whole multiplayer experience is what really made the N64 stood out for me.
100%. I've said the story before on previous podcasts, but it's so true. I never had a Nintendo 64. In fact, I'm only starting to slowly go through the backlog of those type of games now. But I always got jealous from a PlayStation guy perspective that, like, I remember always like looking at the catalogs, towards Christmas and stuff like that, and going, "Oh, that Nintendo 64 looks really kind of like cool, but it's so expensive." And I got my PlayStation, and just seeing like the control pads lined up nicely together, marketing, and people playing, plug in and play. You take your control pad to your friend's house, don't need to take the console or your multi-tap or anything. Mm-hmm. It's plug in and playing. Let's go. And I was like, that sounds so cool, type of thing. So yeah, that's nice. That's so cool, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The only downside for me is that the N64 wasn't really that big in Malaysia. So what I would do sometimes is my grandparents they had a house in Australia, because they used to frequent like Australia very, very, very often back in the days. So that was where I usually get all the N64 games and other peripherals as well from Australia itself, because it's very hard to find. I mean, you could still find N64 games in Malaysia, but they're very, very limited.
Sure.
Like, okay, maybe there's Super Mario 64, maybe there is Mario Kart 64, maybe there's a copy of GoldenEye or something, but anything else after that, it's very, very hard to find. So, yeah, I shamefully had to rely on my grandparents whenever they go to Australia to get N64 games for me as well. Yeah.
Goodness, yes, I can understand that. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so that's games from the past. So let's talk about, like, in terms of not necessarily about streaming, but like in terms of general. So what are you playing at the moment? And that can be online, on streaming, or offline. And again, what's the balance like in terms of yourself? Do you play mostly games online, or do you have like a certain time for games offline? What's your situation like?
Generally, I would play games online because one thing I realize is that when I play certain games, especially if it's story-based games as well, or even games like Street Fighter 6, for instance, which is what I'm hooked on as well with, um, anything can happen. So if I were to play a story-based game, for instance, and a good cutscene appears when I'm playing it offline, I'm like, damn, I should be playing this online and sharing this experience with my chat, with my viewers, my community. And instead, I'm keeping this away from them. So yeah, that's why most of the time I'm streaming them live, because I don't want anyone to miss out on them. But sometimes I would also stream it offline if I just want to disengage from everything and everyone and just like, have my own me time, so to speak. So that totally works out. But generally, when it comes to like games that I usually like to stream online, Just Dance is one of them. Well, it is the main thing for me because I've always been the type of guy who loves to perform in front of an audience as well. And dancing is like the next best thing, because I don't sing anymore. So dancing is like the next best thing for me. And I would say that Just Dance has changed my life for the better. I've lost a lot of weight because of it. I've made a lot of friends from different parts of the world because of it. Ubisoft Southeast Asia knows who I am because of it. It's a great thing. It's an amazing thing as well. Aside from Just Dance, Street Fighter 6 is like one of my favorites as well. I used to play Tekken 8 online, but it has gotten a bit frustrating when I'm playing it online against other players as well. So I'm taking a bit of a break from it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going back to it again. And I'm also trying to see if I can get back into playing King of Fighters 15, especially now that the series itself, the King of Fighters series, is celebrating their 30th anniversary today as well. So I might just throw in a King of Fighters 15 stream, like maybe tomorrow or something, just to celebrate in that moment for a bit. Nice. But yeah, other than that, I also play retro games as well online, or even offline as well, from Nstream Arcade or anything else that I feel like playing offline too. And as for visual novels, I haven't touched a new visual novel just yet. I'm thinking about it, but it's going to... Yeah, I will have to like figure out. I'll have to like narrow it down to which of them I want to try and play, and also like get everybody, get my community, get my viewers involved in it as well.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So Johan, you're stuck on a remote island. Okay, I know this is quite funny for someone that is actually in Malaysia, but
yeah, very much. I mean, funny enough, the very first season of Survivor was actually in Malaysia, like on a remote island on the Borneo side of the country.
Oh yeah. No, wrong person to ask this question, but let's go with it. An even more remote island where it's that remote, only you're on it. Oh no, you're on design on your own. And you can only bring 3 games with you for that experience. You are stuck on that island forever, so that's it. I'm sorry. You can play online. You can play mods.
Okay.
You can do DLCs and all that stuff. But only 3 games. What would they be, and why?
All right. Well, it's gotta be. Man, that's a tough one. I mean, I would pick Just Dance. Probably the latest one. And probably Street Fighter 6 because I've been so hooked onto that.
Okay, yeah.
And for my third game, I'm gonna go with Super Mario RPG because whenever people ask me like what my most favorite game is, I would usually point to that.
Sure.
And with Super Mario RPG, I have a very good, interesting story regarding that as well. So back in '96, I went to Japan with my family. We stayed for 3 weeks, which was a very, very long period of time. We went to a department store. I don't remember exactly where the department store was. But funny enough, I even got the chance to try out the Virtual Boy, which was just as bad as people have mentioned it as well. Okay. I mean, yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I would not recommend it. But somehow I got my hands on Super Mario RPG, which is the Japanese version on the Super Famicom. And it was the very first RPG game I've ever played. Like
Right.
I had no idea how this turn-based RPG like gameplay works. I had no idea like what the heck HP, MP, or XP were,
Right,
and how
yeah.
everything works. It was very, very new to me. And to make matters worse, it was all in Japanese, so I didn't really understand like how to go about with it. I
Right.
did rely on some strategy guides like in game magazines and the like. But then I came to a puzzle in the game, and you're supposed to spell out a word to pass it. And the thing was, I can't read Japanese. I don't know my hiragana or my katakana or worst of all my kanji, and so I got stuck for 27 years. I got stuck for 27 years until the remake came out last November.
Oh, nice.
The remake came out last November. I was able to solve the puzzle, and I was like, oh my god, I waited 27 years just for this moment.
Oh, man.
So, the very first time I actually completed Super Mario RPG was on the remake back in December last year. And it was the most satisfying experience I've ever had as a gamer.
Oh,
Nothing else could top it. Nothing else could top it.
that's a fantastic selection of games, I must say, as well. Because again, you know, you got
Yeah.
Just Dance, which again you got the most recent version as well. Street Fighter 6 does hold up very well from what I've heard as well. So again, you got that. That's being updated a lot at the moment. And then, I mean, an absolute classic. So yeah, you're gonna be you seem set on that island. That's
Yeah, I think I'm very, very much set on the island with all those games that I would bring with me.
nice. Oh, okay. So, is there any games that you've played over the years? Again, considering how the eclecticness of the games you've played, and also the amount of time that we're talking about since like the Famicom days and stuff like that. Like, what are some of like the hardest games that you've played? And obviously, that could be for you, or it could be general. You know, what are there any games that frustrated you?
There have been a lot of hard games that have frustrated me over the years. But at the top of my head, the one that stuck out that pretty much sticks out to me is probably Castlevania Rondo of Blood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the game that came out for I think it was for the PC Engine back in the days, the PC Engine CD. And then it got re-released on the Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles in 2007 for the PSP. And then it came out and then it was released as part of the Castlevania Requiem bundle with Symphony of the Night for the PS4. So the version that came along with it was actually the original PC Engine CD version. And I love the game. I mean, Richter Belmont is actually my favorite of all the Belmonts. You know, as much as, even though there's like Trevor and Simon, but Richter's my guy.
Sure.
I love the game a lot. I love everything about it. The visuals, the audio, but the controls, oh my gosh. The controls are not bad, but it can be pretty stiff at times. And oh man, the boss battles, the enemies, the platforming, it's very, very, it's unforgiving.
Yeah.
But it's a great game.
Yeah.
But I remember just how frustrating it was for me, especially during the last few stages and the last few boss battles that took place. So,
am I right?
At the top of my head, it would have to be Rondo of Blood. Yeah.
Okie dokie. So my understand, and please forgive me for my ignorance on this, but there was two versions, wasn't there, of that game, and one was released like west side, should we say, in terms of like, and the one that was released that was, if I'm not mistaken, one was really bad and one was really good, and I think I'm not mistaken, Rondo of Blood was the really good quality version, and I think that didn't get released to the West for like decades. Am I right?
Oh, you're referring to the Super Nintendo version, right?
Yes.
Dracula X or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that Rondo of Blood is the really good version, and that's technically the prequel. Well, it's not prequel. It's Symphony of the Night. It's the sequel to Rondo of Blood, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So the good thing about the thing about Rondo of Blood that makes it great is, aside from it being visually amazing, and aside from the soundtrack being really good because of the CD quality audio, what made the game very, very engaging is the fact that there are a lot of branching paths as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of replayability, and there are also like hidden areas where you can explore as well. So I think that's what makes it better than Dracula X on the Super Nintendo, because that version is very bare bones. It's a whole lot different compared to Rondo of Blood, even in the stage layouts. And I know that the final boss battle with Dracula is like one of the most frustrating ones, because you're pretty much jumping from one platform to another as well, just to try and kill him as well. So I would say Rondo of Blood was definitely the better version of that game itself. Compared to Dracula X for the Super Nintendo.
Gotcha. Yeah. I thought as much, and it's on my list. I've not played it yet. I'm slowly getting through Castlevania. I want to play Aria of Sorrow as well. That's another one on my list. Amazing. Okay. So do you have any video game collectibles? Do you collect video games or again figures or anything else in particular to do with video games?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of games, I've always been more of a physical guy, because I like the idea of preservation as well.
Yes.
I mean, I like the idea of video game preservation. I don't really collect a lot of collectibles. Wait, 1 second.
I put you on the spot.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, Johan's going to show us something. I can't wait for this.
But one of the things that I do have is this. I got this from Ubisoft Southeast Asia.
Oh, nice.
And it's basically a winter jacket for Just Dance 2024 edition.
Oh, nice.
It's probably it's probably one of my prized possessions, I would say.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because this came all the way from Paris. Nice. It wasn't from Ubisoft Southeast Asia itself. It came from Paris. So the community manager messaged me. He said, I think he sent me a DM on Twitter asking for my address, because they wanted to send something to me, and I was like, okay, gave them everything, and then it came with this along with a few other stuff as well. And the cool thing about this is that obviously we don't have winter in Malaysia. We don't have like the only cold climate we have is just rain. It's just occasional rain season here and there. But I've always wanted one of these Christmas sweaters and such. So I'm very glad I got this. So it's one of my favorite collectibles as well, if anything.
That's amazing.
But yeah,
love it. Oh, nice. Thank you for showing us that. Amazing.
No problem.
So do you play games for like achievements, trophies? Do you collect that type of thing, or is that not something that you're a fan of? Or
it's not really something I'm a fan of, because I mean, it's cool that when you play games, like midway through, suddenly you receive a notification that you just unlocked a new trophy or a new achievement. But I feel like while that would be fun, to do, trophy hunting and the like, it can be a bit too stressful for me, and I don't want to play games to be stressed out. I want to play games to just have fun, kick back, relax, and have a good time. So I don't really focus too much on like trophy hunting or achievement hunting. But if it just so happens that there is something that is just within my grasp, maybe I would go for it as well.
Yeah.
But generally, I just play games as it is. I don't really need to like go for trophies or go for achievements at any point in time. Yeah.
That's completely fair. I understand that. Fair play. Okay. Just backtracking to Just Dance for a second here. Because I know you're a massive fan of the series, and you do some great work with that. Let's talk about the recent Twitch. So this is coming out in late August 2024, guys. Obviously, I know people live are like, well, duh, but I'm talking about retrospectively when this is on YouTube and Spotify. So at the moment, there's a thing with Twitch in terms of copyright issues and the DJ program and all that stuff. So it's very difficult for us streamers to be able to play things like Just Dance or Guitar Hero or play music videos and stuff like that. So just talk us about that. How is it impacting you, and what are your thoughts on it?
The thing with this whole like DMCA copyright issues as well, it's been going on for ages, for as long as I've been streaming as well. I mean, it was one of the things that took out Twitch things, which I actually do miss a good deal as well. And yeah, it has affected a lot of us Just Dance streamers as well. With what came out recently, obviously a lot of us were worried as well, and we were worried that it might impact us as well in some way or another.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, it doesn't really impact us as much as long as we're streaming in the correct category. So if we're doing a Just Dance stream, we have to set the category to Just Dance 2024 edition or any of the Just Dance games. So we won't be like affected by these issues as well. But to be on the safe side, a lot of us still split our audios through OBS. So we just needed to play it safe. We don't want to like get into any risk whatsoever.
Yeah.
But generally, for a lot of rhythm game streamers, I think we are okay as long as we're streaming in the correct category as well. If we're, because I remember like I remember seeing streamers who would stream like karaoke games. Like for instance, I used to be crazy over Karaoke Joy Sound for Nintendo Switch, because it's basically a karaoke app on the Switch. There's even a PS4 version, if I'm not mistaken, where we use the Joy Sound service, which is a karaoke service in Japan. And the app is free, but you still have to pay to play as well. That they have their own specific tickets as well for it. And there are people who they don't stream in that category, because there is a Karaoke Joy Sound for Nintendo Switch category on Twitch as well. But some people, they would much rather stream it in the music category because maybe there will be good traction, or maybe there will be noticed, which is, with all due respect, is a bit ridiculous, because the music category is majorly oversaturated.
Yeah.
That the idea of people looking for your streams is damn near impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing about it is that I feel that it's a bit of it should be a bit of a mutual respect thing. Like music streamers, they, a lot of them, they do sing on stream. They also play musical instruments, and I think that's what it should be for them as well. Whereas if there is something that, if there is a game that has its own category on Twitch, you might as well just stream on there, and be on the safe side, rather than, for lack of a better term, encroach or invade other categories and expect just for the sake of getting more viewers in. It's just not. I just don't think it's right. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. No, I get that. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a nice segue in terms of streaming then. So how long have you been streaming for? And what were the moments that came into your decision to kind of hit that go live button for the first time? What were the decisions, the things that came into play before then?
Okay, so I started streaming on October 23rd, 2018. That was the very first time I started streaming.
Oh, okay.
And it's a bit bittersweet for me, because it was also the last time I would take my grandparents out to have lunch and have a meal as well, because in the years to come, they will become incapacitated, they'll become bedridden and the likes as well. So yeah, it was a bit of a bittersweet day, but it was the start of something for me. The thing was, I didn't have a PC of my own, so I was basically a console streamer, streaming directly from my PS4, and it was a bit of a struggle for me at first. It was a bit of a struggle for me because I didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have any assistance. I didn't have any help. I just had to figure everything all on my own, and it took me quite a long time. It took me several months to get affiliated on Twitch as well.
Yeah.
Because again, I wasn't sure how things work. Nobody offered me any sort of guidance. Nobody offered me any sort of help or assistance. I had to figure everything out on my own as I go along. But I was enjoying myself. I was kind of like just enjoying, playing games and having people watch me as well. Even though my view count at that time was very, very little, but it was still something. It wasn't until I got a PC where things really started to take off, and even then it also took a bit of time as well. But yeah, I'm coming up to my 6th year in October, and honestly speaking, I don't know. I mean, one of the things that I would love to do is to get partnered on Twitch at some point, because I've been streaming for so long. I've been doing a lot of things, participated in so many community events, doing, podcasts like Streamer Stories as well, taking part in game shows, raising money for charity. I've been doing a lot, and I feel like I want to take that next step somehow. And I feel like the next step would be to get partnered. But yeah, times have been pretty tough on me. In terms of like, if I have to be very transparent, in terms of like viewership and such, it's been very tough on me lately. And I've been struggling a lot. I've been trying to like figure things out along the way. But I think that's the beautiful thing about streaming. You learn a lot of new things as you go along.
Yeah.
And in that sense, you're also learning a lot more about yourself, about who you are, what you do, what makes you amazing as well. And that's the great thing. That's one of the things I like about streaming, and that's why I've been doing this for as long as I have.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that. I've been streaming for 7 years. I didn't hit affiliate for 3 years, for three and a bit years actually. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know about the affiliate program. I didn't know how to hit it. At one point, I nearly came close, but then I flipped over to YouTube. I didn't realize I didn't know anything different. Like you said, I think back in those days, I think that is one thing I can totally relate to. The advice and the companionship among streamers was a lot less back then. It was pretty much you kind of just almost fending for yourself, trying to wing it, just try to get to understand it and get to grips with what is that's going on. So I totally understand I really relate to that. It's an up and down journey, man. It's But fingers crossed. No, yeah. I mean, I said, I know there's a lot of people out there that are gonna got a lot of time for you and respect for you. And I said I've seen what you do. I think you're great. I'm happy to shine a light on what you do, because it's fantastic. I think we were just talking just off stream before about all the charity stuff you're doing. I mean, that's amazing. I knew you were doing some bits, but that's incredible. So you should be very proud of what you're doing. That's for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, let's talk about that though. So again, over the years then, and currently, how much charity work have you done? It sounds like you've done a lot. So
a lot. I mean, I've been fundraising for charity since 2020 actually. I mean, I didn't know it was a thing, to be honest. I had no idea it was a thing. I had no idea that I would actually be a part of it. And when I realized that, as a streamer, as a creator, especially as a streamer, when I realized that I can do something good for the world by raising money for as many charity, for as many causes, as many charities as I can, that's when I started to like dive deep into it. And the world is kind of messed up as of late. So anything to help people who need it the most, I would jump in, and I would try to do my best as well as a streamer. I mean, I don't have a big platform. I don't have a big following. I don't, I'm not like big streamers like Hassan Abi or CDog VA, for instance, guys who raise like millions for charity, with the massive audience that they have. But I try my best to do what I can with the limitations that I have, because I feel like, especially as a Malaysian streamer as well, because I feel like there aren't a lot of Malaysian streamers who do charity streams like I do. It's one of the things that make me not just stand out, but it also gives me that sense where I feel like I'm accomplishing something. I feel like I'm doing even if it's not much. Like I could just raise maybe $10 or even less than that for a charity for any charity fundraiser. But the fact that I'm actually out there trying to spread awareness of certain causes that some people may have never heard of is still a win. It's still a victory that I can chalk up to. So I've raised over $10,000 thus far for like various charities as well. And Tiltify has been kind enough to feature me on a few stuff as well that they've been doing. For instance, they had and this was kind of funny. They had an Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month feature last year, and somehow I got highlighted, even though I'm not even American. I got highlighted. Yeah, but I'll take it. It was a huge honor. It was something that I was just very privileged to have. I mean, there were so many other amazing streamers who got featured as well. In that feature as well, there were a lot of other streamers who got highlighted. Most of them are big streamers. Most of them are partners as well.
Yeah.
And yet here I am, out of nowhere, being highlighted as well. And I'm like, there is a little bit of imposter syndrome as well, and I did feel a bit out of place on all accounts. But it's something I'm very proud of, because I didn't think that Tiltify would feature me in that sense. And they also interviewed me for their creator showcase as well, which is sort of like an ongoing series that they have where they interview streamers and ask them about and talk to them about their fundraising journey and such. So it's been amazing. As long as I'm able to help out the rest of the world in some way or another, as long as I can contribute to the world in some way or another for good, for the betterment as well, then that's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
And I've got several other fundraisers lined up for the rest of the year.
Amazing.
And looking forward to raise as much money as we can for all of these charities as well.
Incredible. Wow. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
10,000. Oh, wow. That's amazing. I love that. Okay. Wow. Where the heck has the hour gone already? But got a couple more questions for you. So and then we'll wrap up if that's okay. So this next question. Here's a surprise question. So, we've got a feature on this podcast where a previous guest will ask a future guest a question. They don't know who it is, and then obviously when we go offline, Johan, I'll ask you a question to ask a future streamer as well.
Okay.
I don't know who this was, and I apologize in advance for the randomness of this question, but it's also kind of it's kind of a funny question as well.
All right.
It's usually video game related or streamer related. Not this one. So here you go. Brace yourself. The question is.
Okay.
Do you think that sharks know when you're scared of them?
Sharks as in...
Yes. I told you. I told you this was going to be a random question.
Now, why would sharks even be afraid of us? Okay, I can only think of one thing. I guess they will start being afraid when we start fishing them out because we want to cut their fins off and make shark fin soup out of them.
Yes.
I mean, that's the only thing that comes to my mind.
I don't know why they asked. I don't know why this question.
Because as much as cruel as it is with the process and how it goes as well, shark fin soup is still a delicacy in my part of the world because I mean we have a massive Chinese population in Malaysia as well, and in a lot of Chinese restaurants, shark fin soup is also served there as well. It is a delicacy, but I have stopped eating it for environmental reasons and the like. But even though it's good, but yeah, I mean. Yeah, that is a question that came out of left field, and I'm like, okay, I mean then again, considering the nature of how the fins are cut off and such, yeah, I guess that's one reason for sharks to be afraid of us. But generally, I would be afraid of sharks.
Oh yeah,
like,
same. Yeah.
Have you seen the amount of teeth that they have and how sharp they are?
Right.
They don't even need to file it. It's already like.
No thanks. Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Okay, right. Final question, and then we're going to wrap it. But Johan, thank you. It's been an amazing time. It's gone.
It is
so
amazing.
quick.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Is a final question then? Is any advice you'd like to think about people? Any advice you'd like to give to anyone thinking of picking up streaming? Any things you've learned over the years? Any advice, tips, tricks? What comes to mind in terms of what you'd like to consider giving them as advice?
I would say to figure out your why. Like, why are you streaming in the first place? Because one of the reasons why I started streaming was because I used to be a stage performer as well. I used to actively perform at a lot of like anime conventions. I mean, back in the days, I was doing musical theater and the like as well. But then when I decided to go solo, I decided to perform at a lot of anime conventions and the like, just because I enjoyed singing Japanese songs as well, like modern J-pop songs and the like. But And at one point, there came a time where I was actually very popular. There came a time when people knew who I was, where I was suddenly being booked for a lot of conventions and events, not just in Malaysia but even in Singapore as well. But it did come to at some point I started to plateau as well, and I was like, well, what else am I gonna do if I'm not gonna get a lot of gigs these days? I need to do something to keep me active. And streaming was there for me.
Yeah.
So I was very new to it. Again, I had no idea what to expect. I don't know what to do. All I know was that I was just going into this very, very blindly, not knowing what to expect. And, I consider myself very fortunate because not a lot of streamers are able to get past like maybe the second year or the first year or even 6 months.
Yeah.
But I've been doing this for almost 6 years. I don't know when I'm ever gonna stop. I honestly, I don't mind streaming until like I'm in my 60s or 70s. Although by that point I probably wouldn't be doing Just Dance anymore. I'll be doing something else. But yeah, for me, it's always good to figure out your why, because if at any point in time you are going through a rough time, like your viewerships are dropping, people tend to forget you. People tend to like, not I don't like to use the word forget, but it does happen from time to time. Yes. They will find someone else that they would vibe with and then they will enjoy their time with as well. It's always good to sort of like go back to why you started doing this in the first place and what is it about streaming that you enjoy? Because at the end of the day, going back to your reason, going back to your why will sort of like put you in that direction that you need to go as well. So it's always good to figure out like why are you doing it. I mean, and even if people were to say, "Oh, I'm doing it because of money," or to get paid, being an affiliate or a partner and getting into the Plus program, for instance, those kind of things. Even something like that is even that is a reason. I know people might think, "Oh, it's a bit like, yeah, you're only thinking about money or you're thinking about fame or something like that." It's still a reason. But if you and even if it comes across as being negative or toxic, if you could pivot it in such a way that if you could pivot it in a positive way, and spin it in such a way that you could use that to your advantage or to the goodness of what you can do, then it's totally worth it is totally worth it.
Yeah. So
it's always good to like figure out like why you are streaming in the first place and why you want to do it in the first place. For me, it's just like showcasing my talent, as a dancer or even as a singer when I was doing Twitch Sings and Karaoke Joy Sound, or wanting to share stories about my childhood as a gamer when I'm playing retro games, or just bringing my community and viewers along with me in a journey when I'm doing a visual novel stream and trying to get them to follow the story and experience the story like I am and such. So yeah, it's always good to go back to why you started and why you start off in the first place.
That's a great answer. Thank you for sharing that. Again, I love that term as well. Find out your why and stick to it. I love that. That's a great,
Yeah.
it's a great quote. I think for life, never mind just for streaming. You know, again, I thank you. It's been a great chat and learning more about you and learning again. You know, I've known from a distance about the stuff you've done. You've done some incredible work, but understanding your why has been really fun for me. So thanks for being part of this, mate. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Appreciate being on as well. This was a lot of fun.
Oh hell yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone who's not already following Johan, please give him a follow. He's so good. He's awesome. Really such a talented guy. Eclectic, I'd say. You know, again in terms of what you do and how you do it is brilliant. I've been admiring from afar, and it's been so much fun to get to learn more about you today.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Please get following Johan.